So should we go ahead and get started, and we'll have Luke come in when he comes in, because we have a quorum.
Yep.
Still a fairly nice day out. So. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today is Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. It's currently 5:32 p.m. Calling to order the Jamestown Local Development Corporation for our annual August meeting, which was rescheduled. Actually, our July meeting, right? It was rescheduled.
July meeting, yep.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First item for business is the presentation for applicants for the American Rescue Plan Act nonprofit business grant funding program. Crystal, I don't know if you want to explain the thought process for presentations or additional questions.
I'm going to let Tim kind of do the introductions, but one of the reasons we wanted to give the groups another opportunity to come and present a second time is we really looked at, we did ask them for what their benefit to the community was initially. Because these organizations have asked for higher amounts, and we are looking at potentially with the various scenarios that we have proposed, we want to give them opportunity to really be able to tell their story, because we can't do that for them. And so I think there's probably some questions that will come up, and we also had some questions that we posed back to them regarding really being able to demonstrate return on our investment in ARPA funding, but then also being able to speak to how that investment that we will potentially give them, right, how that is going to come back, and you know, the hope is that it will come back many times over, right, and in various ways, and each organization will have different ways that investment would benefit the community at large. So we didn't feel like we could articulate that well enough for them, and so we wanted to give them opportunity to be able to do that. So I think, Tim, if you would like to introduce the organizations that are here and whoever is up first.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. Tonight we have 2 out of the 5 applicants who will be presenting. With us tonight is Mr. John Barber from the Jamestown YMCA and also Mr. Paul Johnson from St. Luke's Episcopal Church. First, I'd like to invite Mr. Barber to come up and speak on the Jamestown YMCA and the return on investment.
Sure. Yes, I have. Thank you, everyone. I have this I just want to share, and maybe the best way is I'll kind of split. All right. And so, I mean, I guess I'm glad to answer any more questions too that are here. And I'm not going to read through the entire thing that I'm giving you, but this is sort of a hot off the presses sort of thing. What we've done is we look. It takes us a while, but we look at a year in review. And what is the impact of the Jamestown YMCA just in a year? And so what I'm passing around to you is just a little thing that we're right now, we've started to push this with our members and those that support the Y of what was the impact of the Y just in 2022, and what have we been doing? And so that's something for you to take. In fact, we can pass it around even to everybody that's here, because everywhere I go, the thing that I always hear is, I didn't know. I didn't know that the Y did all this. And so everywhere I go, I'm just talking about what the Y does. And so, I mean, obviously our proposal for ARPA funds is for a new YMCA. And my idea of what tonight is about is what's the return on investment? Well, to me, the return on the investment has to do with the health of the YMCA being able to continue to have this impact that we're having on the community. This is really what it's about. This isn't a program with a hope of something that might happen. It isn't a piece of equipment that might be able to use. We're looking at a new facility for the next 100 years of life. That's what we're looking at. So when, you know, as I'm looking across a place to invest, you're looking at an organization, and I've been in my current role for 1 year. I've been with the Y for 15 years. But all of those things are a drop in the bucket for the length of the time that the Y, its leadership, its members have been making an impact. So I'm just like walking in this behind these folks and standing on these shoulders of people, and hopefully people who are going to go well ahead. And so when we're talking about return on investment, I'm really thinking about the future of the Y and its impact it has on city residents and the ability to do that. This is a really big project. It's a monumental project, and to me, the opportunity for the city to say we support, and we support it with resources that we have for the future and the health of our city. This makes sense. It also makes sense for the reason behind ARPA funds, right? ARPA funds are here because of the effect of COVID and the pandemic on our community. What populations were most affected by COVID? There's a lot of low income, minorities, people with health related issues. What does the Y do? It serves people who are low income, we serve a high number of minorities, and we provide one of the major places where people can keep their physical health so that they're ready, right? So these are the things we're doing. I thought I'd just share just some updates because I gave you 2022, but I want to share with you right now what's happening in the city. Right now, today, I just looked at our latest stats. The Jamestown YMCA has served over 22,454 meals just since June 26th. We have 166 kids right now involved in a summer learning program, whether it's a summer leap program or our Power Scholars Academy program for middle schoolers. We've got 44 kids in a day camp. We've got 11 adults that are ready on Monday to go down to the river walk for free and participate in a walk with ease program that's about arthritis, like learning to move with arthritis. And right now we had 218 kids that participated in our teen centers this past year. So that's right now. You've got 2022 in front of you. But the kind of impact I think the Y has, when you actually hear what the Y does, it says a lot, I think. And so what we're hoping is that City Council or this board will see fit to invest some of these funds that have come into the future, the next 100 years of the Y's impact in the city. That's essentially what we're doing, and I'm glad to answer any questions because I know there's all sorts of other things, but that's really to me the main point of return on investment.
Thank you so much.
Questions?
John, I have a question. What is the senior wellness check-ins? Can you just elaborate a little on that?
So we have special programs like Silver Sneakers that actually connect seniors with programs, whether it's group exercise or reduced cost membership. So they're able to do those kinds of check-ins with these wellness programs.
Those are linked with some health insurance companies, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct. Silver Sneakers is just one example.
And the veterans program you work with, the Dwyer Group, do they get membership, or how does that work? They
Yeah,
get membership.
Yeah, so veterans through the Dwyer program are actually able to join the Y and their families for free, but in addition, we're offering some special programs for veterans. For instance, at Camp Anyasa, we've got special programs that happen on weekends where veterans and their families actually come and participate with other veterans in, whether it's Oaks Challenge or something like that, or just being at camp.
Thank you.
It's no secret that we have a high poverty rate here in Jamestown. How do you serve that demographic? If someone can't afford a membership, or if someone is, in poverty, how can they still benefit from the Y?
Yeah, so you see on the 2022 impact on the far left, 1,652 members receiving financial assistance. That actually speaks to the members. We have a program called income-based pricing, where you can join the Y based upon your household income. And right now, I think it's about 40% of our members actually qualify for some form of income-based pricing. So that means they're paying a reduced rate, with the idea being that we want membership for all. We want everybody to be able to afford it. We've created sort of a simple system for a family to prove income. It's not like going to DSS or trying to qualify for rental assistance. It's nothing huge and formal like that, but a way for a family to really quickly show their tax statement. This is what income bracket I'm in, and away they go for a year of membership for them and their family. Yes.
What impact guys have kind of done the analysis, that will having a brand new building in the location that it's going to be in, what do you anticipate that impact will be versus continuing to try to operate and make improvements that are absolutely necessary in the old building?
Right. Yeah, so what we've seen over decades is we have seen population decline, which has resulted for us in some membership decline historically. We've rebounded since COVID, so like if you look over the last 5 years, we're about where we have been. But what we anticipate with a new Y is that we actually will be able to grow membership projection-wise, just based upon data and studies conducted by YUSA and other resources about what happens in a community like ours when you build a new YMCA. I think we're projecting in our pro forma anywhere from a 20% to 30% gain in membership. Now, what that means for us is really significant, because membership, what I'm presenting to you a lot of these mission things, but what really helps us to sustain this work is a healthy membership. And it's not just the healthy membership that there's 20 to 30% more members. That also means that this facility and these kids that we serve also now have access to this great facility. Right? We don't have a pool just for paying members. It's important that we have a pool so that summer learning programs like Power Scholars Academy are able to leave, go to the wide pool for swim lessons during the summer. See how it all interweaves to be able to connect to work that we do either in partnership with the district, partnership with the schools. But when membership is embraced, all of those programs are better sustained. Right now, the difficulty of being able to sustain a healthy membership is something that creates a chronic challenge for the Y to be able to, one, maintain a facility that's aging and has huge expenses. So we really need to address that in order to be able to keep programs healthy. Because if those programs aren't healthy, we can't sustain a pool, which means there's really no pool even for the day campers, the kids that come to the Y, the folks that access memberships and reduced rates.
John, can you explain too the condition of that building and what would need to be done to stay there? Is it, what's the future look like without a new Y?
Yeah, I think part of the challenge with the building that we're in is, you could say, let's just rehab the YMCA where it's at. And I would never say that couldn't ever happen in the possible history, but we can forecast what that results in. So we're going to invest a considerable amount of resources into a building with aging infrastructure that also has a building design that isn't well oriented for an aging population, and also continue some of the challenges that we already face with our current design of there not being parking, not easy off-street access for folks. We will contain what we do. You can only do so much in an old building to make it functionally there. And also what happens then is when you're in that old building, that is what we've done for the last 30 years, right? We've tried to revamp, rehab, keep up our place. And there's a lot that I like about it, and there's a lot that's really good, but it is what it is. And we can continue to do that, but what also we're facing now is that reduction in membership, right? And it's those critical factors of being able to get an open, accessible design, especially in an aging community, in a great neighborhood where we need something that's healthy and it's still accessible to the whole city. That's what leads to that 20-30% increase in membership that sustains the Y for the next 100 years. So I hope I'm getting
Yeah, I think that. Also,
I'll piggyback off what he just brought up is, I raised that question with Greg Edwards and also with Tom Benson when they presented before. My concern is what's going to happen to that existing building if you guys build a new building down there. I'm not saying that should thwart your project, but I think people need to be thinking now what's going to happen to that building after you guys move out. Have you personally been involved in any of the discussions on the existing building now and what would take place with that building?
Yeah, so number one, we have housing on the 3rd and 4th floor. So there's no scenario in terms of what we're forecasting or looking to do where suddenly the Y just walks out and there's a vacant eyesore of a building that's sitting there and decaying. We've got 10 years on a HUD contract where we're maintaining housing, we're the managing agent of that, right? So I mean, I suppose it's altogether possible that I'm gone and somebody doesn't care that the first and second floor but the third and fourth floor have to be maintained. They have to be, which to me speaks to the necessity that of course there's going to need to be a plan for those other floors. But part of it is too, not that the Y isn't a useful building. We just made an investment above our main roof. We did it about 3 years ago. I helped oversee that project. It goes over all of our apartments, but it also, of course, is over the first and second floor, where we put a new roof that should be a 25-year roof on that building. We put a new coating on above our gym, which is supposed to last 10 years. Now, eventually, it will need a new roof. We know that, so it's not the forever solution. But we've put some investment into protecting the outside of that building so that the inside is still useful. What's difficult is to take that inside and keep it useful in a way that's going to grow and amplify membership in a way that sustains the Y. Now, whether or not that space is useful to anything that it might be able to use, I think there's actually a lot of different potential uses for either somebody who's going to lease, own, or rent that space. I mean, you can imagine what the possibilities are. There's potential, of course, for expanded housing, but there's also potential for other entities that need that kind of space, but they're not as disrupted by the levels and the access issues.
Jeff, your wife would turn the gym into a big banquet hall.
We're working in this building. It's not as if the walls are crumbling around us.
No. The other issue too is that it's not handicap accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's sort of a real.
And that's, I don't know how you. I mean, that's especially like you said.
Only so much adaptation that you can do.
Right, and we have handicap. Our housing is handicap accessible, so the building
It is,
itself
yeah.
has handicapped access. But when you're talking about being inclusive, so that everybody feels welcome, when you have this special entrance over here, that's what makes it difficult. But a group that actually is using an area, and they're using this area, that can actually work well. It's navigating through the building imagine a member trying to navigate a whole building. You can make an area accessible, but to make the whole building the way members need it to be, that's really difficult.
Any other questions?
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
So moving next to it, I'd like to invite Mr. Paul Johnson to speak about St. Luke's return on investment.
Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity, and I'm here on behalf of St. Luke's. I'm just a parishioner, and I serve on the vestry, which is the Episcopal name for the church council, and I'm involved in various ministries with the church. So I hope this will be brief, because I know that Eddie wants to get outdoors and
Beautiful day.
So, I have three basic points. One is that the St. Luke's and its tower are really a central anchor of the downtown historic district. And the second is that it's really, St. Luke's serves as a hub for so much ministry and outreach that happens in downtown Jamestown, especially now, and most recently, with the arrival of many of our migrant friends from various locations. And I think St. Luke's has really been in the vanguard in terms of trying to help them adapt to life in their new chosen city. And the last is the plan that we have for an indoor growing program once our tower work is complete, whereby we hope to install equipment in the previously unused space in the tower, and also in our boiler room, to be able to grow vegetables year-round that will support our CSA program, as well as the mobile and the mobile and downtown market. So I have some things I've written here. Some of it's a repeat of what I presented I guess a month and a half ago. It's boiled down a little bit. I can share some of this information with you, and maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. But I'm not a great extemporaneous speaker, so in order to keep this short and to ensure that I don't wander all over the place, it's probably best that I just read this. So first, with respect to the tower and the bells, as I mentioned in my June presentation, St. Luke's and its bell tower not only are a significant contributing property to Jamestown's downtown historic district, but an iconic Jamestown landmark that lend an old world ambience, charm, and sense of placemaking to the city. With its working full octave carillon of bells, the St. Luke's bell tower has kept the city running on time for the past 130 years as its Westminster chime marks the quarter hours. The chime consists of 12 bells, varying in size from the largest, weighing 4,200 pounds, to the smallest, weighing 418 pounds. The aggregate total net weight of the bells is 18,450 pounds, exclusive of the oak frame and other hangings. The tones of the 12 bells provide a wide range and facilitate the playing of thousands of different tunes that can be heard anywhere from half a mile away to as far away as 2.5 miles in any one direction. So having grown up in Jamestown and lived much of my adult life here, it is difficult for me to imagine downtown Jamestown without St. Luke's and its bell tower, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Without our historic building and landmark tower, we would not have much of an historic district that makes downtown Jamestown inviting, walkable, and vital. Apart from its iconic bell tower, St. Luke's is blessed to be able to offer space and to serve as a central meeting place for the Jamestown community and the surrounding area, as well as for the two Episcopal Church dioceses of what St. Luke's is a part. On just about any day of the week, St. Luke's is a hive of activity. Apart from serving as community meeting place, the St. Luke's Church building serves as the hub or base from which our many community outreach ministries operate. Among these are our recovery and workforce development efforts in partnership with the Mental Health Association, enhancing food access in the food deserts of our community through the Jamestown public and mobile markets, and supporting the assimilation process by welcoming our new neighbors from around the world to our community as they migrate here or are resettled here by Journeys and Refugee Resettlement Services. St. Luke's makes meeting space available to any agency, organization, or group that requests it, and even for use by other local faith communities. With its excellent acoustics and large seating capacity, St. Luke's also has long served as a popular downtown venue for concerts, as well as for all of the arts. The first time in Jamestown Empty Bowls event, held at St. Luke's on a Saturday last November, raised almost $15,000 for charitable purposes. The ARPA grant will enable St. Luke's to retain employees as falling stones or masonry from the bell tower or a collapse of the bell tower itself, especially if a casualty or fatality was involved, would financially imperil the parish and likely force St. Luke's to close, thereby putting an end to it and its wide-ranging work. With the assistance provided by the ARPA grant in repairing and stabilizing the bell tower, St. Luke's is excited about an innovative plan to leverage never-before-used space in the bell tower itself, as well as in the boiler room, to install hydroponic growing apparatuses to grow a variety of vegetables. This will enable us to create a year-long growing season for our CSA program that benefits those who are food insecure and suffering from the lasting economic effects of COVID. Expanding this program will allow us to retain the employment of our food access coordinator once the current grant supporting her employment closes. We plan to create several part-time jobs for youth of the community to learn valuable workforce skills and to foster a love of farming within our community. A draft business plan is included in our application materials. So in conclusion, I thank you for this opportunity to share again this information, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them for you.
You said that you're servicing, people from Journey's End. Are you talking about the Colombian families that have been coming here?
Journey's End is for the asylum seekers who are here. You know, they've gone through a detailed process, and many of them have been waiting for years. So I think until just recently, we've been actually providing Journey's End with office space, but I understand that they're expanding their office size and will be moving out of the building. But we do have a number of parishioners that are very actively involved with helping these people assimilate into our community. On the other hand, we have our migrant families who are here, and one of the things that St. Luke's has been doing for I think, you know, since the springtime, is that in order to enable them to earn money to help support themselves, which they really have no opportunity to do otherwise, we've been making our kitchen available to them. And so several times a week they will be down there, and they prepare wonderful Colombian food that they're now selling or giving away for donation, in exchange for donations at the downtown market on Saturdays. But then up until the beginning of the market, they were doing it on Sundays after church. And the really wonderful thing about that is that it was open to the public, so there were people that were coming in from all different churches around noontime to share in this wonderful food. And it was a treat for me because it was an opportunity for me to actually see people from other churches that I'm friends with and hardly ever see. So, and we've been helping out in other ways that we're able to. I think tomorrow at 4:30, if anybody's available, where Luke will be officiating at our second wedding, and I think there was one a couple weeks ago, and it was a beautiful affair. So,
I know
anyway,
we have a population now, or some groups of refugees from the Congo.
mhm.
Are you servicing that population as well, or?
Yes, they were brought here by Journey's End,
Right.
and so we have a new neighbors group at St. Luke's that have been working very closely with those new folks that have been coming in, and I believe there are also families from Venezuela, and I think a new family from Syria. So there's a very dedicated group of parishioners from St. Luke's who are helping in any way they can.
So it's just not one country, because I've heard a lot about the Colombians. But
Yeah.
I know I've met some of the kids from the Congo.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so the Colombians are primarily the migrants, and the Congolese are here through Journey's End.
Some of the kids actually have gone through City Hall. They've done some of the summer tours with the school district. Any other questions?
How is that project going now? I mean, interesting to watch it.
Oh, the bell tower?
Yeah, is that on?
Well, I think, my understanding is that they need to dismantle the top portion of the bell tower because the roof is completely rotten. And so if you can see through all of the layers
You
of
can see the-
scaffolding,
down.
they've taken the tower down to the top of the arches over the clock faces. And last I looked, 2 of the turrets were completely dismantled and down. And I don't know, Luke, maybe you know this, but I understood that all of the turrets were coming down. But I still see 2 of them
Just
up there.
the 2 initial,
Okay.
unless we have to reassess. Ironically, the one repair we did in 2014, we didn't go into the basiveness of the compromised structure. So they fixed it, but it's top heavy now. So there's a bunch of poured concrete in the center of the cone, which is making it kind of a bit, so we have to figure out, and it's
It's a very complicated project, and we've been hearing that for several years already from our architect and all of the people that are involved with the project. But we're glad that it's finally underway after years of waiting, delayed by COVID for 2 years. So.
can't tell what time it is when it comes
I
out.
know.
I know, it's discombobulated.
But the bells are still ringing, right?
They don't ring while they're working, out of respect for the workers, but they ring off hours.
could probably
So
ring them
they're
off
ringing
as
now.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are loud.
You have to wear a hard, or
Yeah.
earmuffs.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. very
All right,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to be behind.
Not tonight.
Okay.
Stephanie, you have a presentation?
For
It's
the,
For the,
Oh, for that.
yeah.
10,000 maniacs. Wanna do that now?
If no one has any opposition to it, then that way Emily can stay or go.
Yes.
Yeah, go, sure.
And this is
Everyone
Emily
okay with
Drew, with the 10,000 maniacs representing. We did receive an application for Crying Out Loud Productions. And who owns that?
That would be me.
That is you, okay. And they are requesting a grant of $1,500 that will be used to bring out this radio documentary that was done on 10,000 Maniacs. And it's actually a 3-part event. Have you
Yeah,
read that?
I can explain
Absolutely.
the
Please, go
documentary
ahead.
and the event, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Crying Out Loud Productions, I'm sorry my partner couldn't be here, but I'm Emily Drew. And that is my production company, new production company that seeks to produce projects that focus on the artistic identity of Jamestown. So we were contracted by WRFA last summer to produce a 4-part documentary on 10,000 Maniacs. And in starting the process of producing that documentary and keeping with our mission and vision as a company, we've really focused on the music scene of Jamestown in the early 1980s and how that fostered the growth of the group. You can imagine I have some significant access to 10,000 Maniacs, but what was really interesting was the way that we were able to contact and interview and engage with fans and friends from that time who are no longer in Jamestown, no longer directly connected to the group. So we were able to paint quite a picture of Jamestown at that time that includes a lot of things that are still here, a lot of landmarks that you can walk by and see, which is really exciting to listen to and was really exciting to hear firsthand. So that's the 4-part docuseries that will air on WRFA starting September 8th. Now the grant that the funding that we've applied for to help produce this event comes from the fact that we announced the premiere of this radio event, and the response from both 10,000 Maniacs fans and the people that we were interviewing and incorporating in this documentary was immense. People want to come here to listen, to celebrate this premiere. So we thought, let's make it a physical event. What would that look like? So in talking to WRFA and the Reg, we came up with the idea that it would be an event, a panel discussion with the documentarian and members of the band, with refreshments and surrounded by items from 10,000 Maniacs archive, primarily from the time that this documentary is set, so the early 1980s, in Jamestown. And we have, as I said, received a lot of encouragement to do something like this. So the event would be in the Reg's studio space, that's above the theater. It would seat about 70 people. We hope that if it were to sell out, we could do a second night of that event. And I think based on the interest, it would sell out quite quickly. Bring people from, as I mentioned, all over the country who have participated in this docuseries. And not to mention the fans who obviously also are not just in Jamestown. Yeah, I think that's the majority of the information. If you have any specific questions about how the money is laid out in the budget, I'm happy to answer those. A conversation that we had recently that I think may be of interest to you also is for people who buy tickets to this event, we're hoping to collaborate with some local downtown businesses, 4 Below, Labyrinth, that ticket might get them $1 or $2 off a glass of wine or a beverage or an entree, to try to make the event all of downtown centric.
That's awesome, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Does anyone have any questions about this?
The total ticket cost is $10.
That's what we've projected, but I think in some recent conversations, we might up that because the interest is so high. I suppose I didn't mention this, sorry. The ticket sales are going to be a fundraiser for WRFA. And so, yes, if we can get more money for WRFA, we'd like to support them and to create more work like this, to shine a light on the arts in Jamestown. I also think that if we can sell out that first night and use some of those profits to produce a second night of this event and make even more money for WRFA, that would be ideal as well. So Jason and I have been discussing $15 to $20 for tickets, but we haven't approved that yet. So that is
Still cheap.
in conversation.
Still cheap.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, we want it to be affordable. We want people to come that, want to come. So.
Okay, well, thank you very
Great, yeah,
much.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Get out and enjoy that evening.
Yeah, thank you. Hope to see some of you down at the block party. Yeah?
Yeah.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, going back up to the agenda for number 2, we'll have some further discussions. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 21st, 2023?
Move.
So moved, do we have a second? Second by Tony. Any questions, changes, additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. Minutes have been approved. Financial reports for May 2023. I don't think we need to accept them, but I don't know if there's anything in particular that we want to note on that.
Nope,
Okay.
not anything of any import. Unless there's any questions.
All right, we'll move on. So the next item is discussion of a staff level review of the rescue plan funds, not-for-profit business grant program funding scenarios.
There you go.
I was just gonna say, Tim, would you like to present, the scenarios and the thought process?
So for our last session, our department has prepared 4 different funding scenarios for all of our nonprofit grant applicants. I'll briefly just go over the thought process behind every scenario first, and I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions on any specific scenario. So scenario 1, this was 50% rubric based and 50% community based, and we are defining community based on what impact it's going to have on Jamestown citizens and the community itself, such as what groups are being served, what services are they providing, and what the overall impact will be. And for scenario 2, it was a 100% community benefit and does not take rubric into consideration. And the purpose of this scenario was to get a majority of the applicants closer to the requested amount in order to create the most efficiency in getting the projects up and running and meeting timelines. Scenario 3, on the other hand, is 100% based on the rubric score with a max possible award of $350,000. By looking at it, you can see that it's broken down to where the highest score receives 80% of the total requested amount. The second highest score receives 70% of the total highest amount, and the lowest scores receive 60% of the total requested amount. And lastly, glossing over scenario 4, all funding requests under $200,000 receive their full amounts, and the maximum award for this was $200,000, and therefore all who requested over $200,000 will receive $200,000. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on our thought process or any comments on any of these scenarios.
Did you discuss any of these with the agencies?
With the applicants?
Right.
Yeah.
I think last time I asked the question of what impact would a change in the requested funding have on the ability to have the project go forward? So in other words, I mean, obviously, the bigger the amount, the more it's gonna get cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does that have to do, like some of these have, different rates or different percentages of the amount needed.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do to the overall project and what impact that would have? Do people know any of these scenarios that they've been?
This is the first time that we are presenting
Okay.
them, so,
I just wanna make sure.
yes.
I do wanna do a little bit more digging, as probably you saw, I'm sitting here calculating numbers. I agree with that statement, Tony, but, you know, one coming in at an ask of $1 million, one at 500,000, and the other is much lower, at the lowest is 82.5, there's only $1.5 million, so,
No matter how we slice it, there's a million.
No, I know, I'm just.
so, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, I think this needs to be shared with council, I know ultimately this vote first,
Mm-hmm.
but the last thing I want is this group to pass something and then it fail council.
Sure.
Okay.
So, I think it might behoove you to kind of at least put it in council's ears for their discussion.
Sure. Would you like us, so we have,
At least the ones that are over,
Yep.
I mean, so I give them the whole thing, but they're gonna vote on the
Right.
ones over 100,000 and
Absolutely.
that's half
well,
of
and I think
them
council should be
involved.
involved in the discussion of which scenario are we going to go with. Maybe it's none of these, maybe it's a hybrid. And so absolutely, and I think council should approve whatever that scenario ends up being, because ultimately council approves the program itself and the funding that's going into it. So we'll be happy to share that with council. We also have 3 more presentations, again, talking about that return on investment, because we felt like that was an important piece. We are really looking at how are we breaking down the dollar amounts that these agencies are going to get, because frankly, everybody's going to take somewhat of a haircut.
Sure.
Based on what they ask for and what they may end up receiving, so we wanted to make sure that, especially those ones where they did ask for a
More
lot
than the-
higher funding.
And more than the 200,000.
Right, and so when looking at that, to your point, Tony, you know, how is that much of a reduction going to impact their ability to move forward in any way or in a different way? So, so we'll hear those other presentations on the 16th at our regularly scheduled August meeting. And so I guess what I'm hearing you say is we won't vote that night as a JLDC board. We'll
I don't know
send
if
this
you-
information to council for their,
If you start the conversation with council, they'll have your feedback for you on the 14th, if you send it to them this week.
Okay.
I'm not saying you can't,
sure.
Well,
So are you
realistically-
comfortable the board voting on the 16th, and not needing necessarily, receiving council feedback, but not necessarily taking it to council for a vote? Or JLDC goes ahead on the 16th, votes, and then council can vote to approve anything over 100 anyway, they would have to, but,
Yeah, there's only a couple on here that wouldn't be affected by that.
okay,
The rest of them are all at least 100.
I think it's probably safe to
Yeah.
put that on a vote for the 16th, and if you feel like we need to table that, then
okay,
that's something the board can do. I don't know how you all feel about that, but we'll at least have that on the agenda, and then make that choice on whether we should table it, given the information we have that night.
sounds good. So, Tim, tomorrow we'll have you send out an email to council, explain sort of the scenarios, and then, at the the next work session, in fact, I'll invite you to join us, and we can answer any questions that night that the council might have.
Could we push everything to them, applications, everything to council, or provide that to them? So
Oh, yeah.
So they're not just
Yes, of
looking at
course.
scenarios.
I thought you meant to vote on their
No,
application.
no.
Yes, no,
All
of
the
course,
information.
absolutely,
I guess
yep,
I want them to be
yep, absolutely,
as well versed as possible. when they're
Absolutely.
looking.
We can also, I mean, we have 1/3 of the council here. so
right,
But
yeah, so you can answer kind of.
we can
voting
answer
yes.
questions, but, you know, I can let them know that if they, between the time, because we don't meet till the 14th.
14th.
Right.
So between now and then,
Mhm.
whenever it gets out, that they can reach out to us
Yep,
if they can't get to you guys, so what
Mhm.
our thoughts are and what our rationale, what direction we might be inclined to go.
absolutely.
I do want to thank the staff for going through those and having that discussion and putting together 4 scenarios. It's not an easy task, so thank you to the staff for going through that. making recommendations to this board.
Just also wanted to add, I didn't get to answer Tony's question about, you know, what would happen if they did not receive their funding, could they go on? And Tim actually contacted all of them
Okay.
by phone, and so there are some here that, you know, they made their amount known, and, others, you know, we know that COI could, they mentioned that here at the meeting, but he did reach out to all of them.
And I just wanna point out, just because I've kind of gone through all these scenarios as well, scenario 4 is the only one that sets the max award at $200,000 and gets the majority of the agencies the funding requested with somewhat of a haircut. So
Question about that, because there was that payment in lieu of taxes provision for over, would that be absolved, would that still be in effect?
Well, if anything was, if they're all under 200, it wouldn't matter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
anything,
So it makes, but the scenario 1, for instance, it would still be in effect.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one that does that?
Yes.
yes.
So everyone that,
No,
Two,
one and
three.
three.
One and, yeah, I was just
And-
gonna say one and,
1, 2.
1, 2 and 3.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
so everyone that applied is here.
Mhm.
So let me ask you a question. Why is it that because you applied, you automatically or possibly gonna get one?
So that is also another scenario. I mean, if there's anyone on here that this board feels is not deserving, we can adjust based on that.
I just
Their
asked because,
scores, their rubric scores are included, so I hope that should help a little bit. And then I think that we've provided what that rubric, what it's based on and what
Right.
those criteria are. So, you know, the lowest score is 19, the highest score is 26. There's a difference between those numbers, but 19 is not a terrible score, so.
I just asked because I know in other art programs that this board has passed,
Not everybody.
not everyone got
Right.
one. I mean,
And-
there were citizens that were turned down,
Yeah.
for various reasons, so, in those scenarios, it wasn't, well, you apply, you're automatically gonna get something.
Correct, yeah. And we already, with this program, we didn't need to, but in every program that we have done, there's always that initial evaluation. So anyone who is ineligible for whatever reason does not get included in any recommendation that's brought forward.
Hey, Jeff, I think you're right, but if you set the max at 200,000, which was the original intent, then all of the 9 applicants would be eligible to get something with you,
Right.
just given the amount of funding. Any other further discussion on that? You know, this is the toughest part,
Yeah,
trying to go
this
through
is
it.
a hard one.
Squeezing it.
I'm also open to anybody on this board if you want any further information about any of the grant awards. And like as we mentioned about how much would they need in order to continue with the project, I'd be more than happy to speak with any of you one-on-one or whatnot to discuss any of that further information.
Great.
Just a phone call away.
Don't tell that to everyone.
Just don't share your phone number.
So just to be clear, the process, we're gonna get this out, all the information to the other council members.
Yep.
And then our regular meeting will come back, discuss it, possibly vote on it, pass it to the council for final vote,
Mhm.
for the ones that are over 100,000.
I think the intent should be to get it squared away by the August
Yeah. If we
voting
It's a
session
nice
for
thing.
city council.
Can we ask a quick raise of hand if you can be here on the 16th?
What day is, that's
It's
a
on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It's our regularly scheduled.
I'm out this month.
Kid was out. Okay, 1, 2, there's 2.
Oh, like to be here?
Yeah, he can't be
Yes.
here,
I can
Tony
be
will be
here.
here,
Or-
Mickey.
16th.
No, not
5.
Luke.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And Melissa.
All right.
So, yes, we have
We
quorum.
have 4.
I'll still send out a
Elliot isn't
calendar.
here tonight, but
As
the
a matter
other,
of fact, it's already on my calendar.
the other
Alright.
issue will be that I will probably be recusing myself from,
Okay, yeah, that's
The vote.
another thing, both Luke and Tony will need to recuse themselves, so if we only have, 6 people,
right,
well, we could do it with 6, but if we only have 5, and these 2 start recusing themselves.
Right.
we're
We
gonna
can do it with
fall.
5, which
I'm not
we'll
gonna-
have
So the legal question would be, if we recuse ourselves for one, it's for all, would they be voted individually, or would it be collectively?
It
So,
would probably be better that we vote individually if you have to recuse yourself from a specific one.
right. Okay, I just wanna make that clear, so,
I mean, unless you're not here, then it would be counted as a,
right. I mean, I'm planning on being here, I just didn't know how that works, you know.
Luke, did you say you can?
I
Or
will not be
You're
here.
gonna be gone, okay,
We're going to do an Ironman.
okay, that's fine. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mont Tremblant in Canada. Yeah, Willow's first, my second. So
Yeah.
How far is that?
it's 140 miles. It's 2.5 miles in 112 miles on the bike, and then a marathon.
It's a full one.
It's full.
That was
It's a full
full
one.
marathon.
Full
marathon.
Iron? Yeah.
So the next item on the agenda is the reallocation of ARPA funds from the business expansion and building acquisition and new business grant programs. So there was funding, and I'll let the staff give some more information. There was funding left over from our allocations for those grant programs, and I think there's a request to potentially move that into another program that has some additional applicants and reopen a program. Is that correct?
Correct?
Okay, I don't know if you guys
Wanna
want to
take it
mention
away?
anything more.
So, the two grants that would be removing the funding from would be new business development, which has $50,000 left over, and I'll mention that we originally released this grant before and only received 2 applications. And from the BEVA grant, there's $25,625 that were left over. And we were asking the board's approval to reallocate that into the building property infrastructure grant, which would leave a total of $75,625. We are selecting this grant program because it's significantly more accessible than the other two, as the other two had stricter requirements for applicants to pursue. And this one will be a very open one that's eligible for most for-profit businesses in Jamestown to apply for, and creates a very equal and open grant for the remaining funds. Any questions?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I thought he was the second one.
Any questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Alright.
Thank you.
So the intention is to reopen that program?
Yep, that's
Then-
correct.
So that'll go to the same way we've opened up the other programs before.
Yeah.
Provide information to businesses that are eligible. Okay. Great. It's my understanding since that time we've had other businesses that have come forward
That is correct,
showing interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
especially in building repairs,
Not the same businesses, new ones.
new ones.
Yeah, all new ones. It's the most flexible program that we've had, so. Great.
Great. We have discussion again. I know there's a further discussion.
If there's any further discussion on any of the items that we talked about tonight, or any new items.
Old business. No, okay. Next one is the approval of the downtown programming application for Crying Out Loud Productions, the amount of $1,500.
So,
Second.
So moved. Second. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, passes. Any other new business for the board? I did have one question. Last meeting, we had the Carlson loan. Was that, did we do anything with that?
Yes, that will be, Elliot is leaving town tomorrow, but, he'll be back next week, and we believe it'll be closing on Thursday.
This board hasn't ratified that loan yet, is what I was asking. Did we do a consent? Did we do a
No.
What?
consent over email? No, I don't
No.
think we did.
We didn't have,
You can't close that
Oh,
loan.
that's
until
right,
the
that's
board
right,
ratifies
okay.
it.
Thank you.
So
So, with the Carlson loan, I guess my next question is, we've not done the consent, so we would still need
We'll
to,
need to do that
still
on
need
the
to vote
16th.
on it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hold off on that loan until we get it back in front of this board on the 16th?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Close, out the door.
All right. Any other business to come before the board? All right. I don't. Do we have an executive session item?
Nope.
Okay. Well, hearing none. Do we have anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy the sunshine.
Go walk your dog.
Yeah, I guess. She's going to enjoy that.
I love that name, crying out loud for that.
I know.